Hey there. Welcome to episode 40 of Toy Talk with Mike and Chad. I'm Mike.
I'm Chad.
And what toys are we going to talk about today, Chad?
Today, I think we're filming more than one episode.
Yes.
So the first one is going to be the brand new Joe's to Our collection.
Yeah, so some new G.I. Joe classified. Most of these are pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them it's probably been about a month's worth of G.I. Joes, month and a half, maybe. And one thing I'm just noticing is we've talked about this a little bit in I think one of our last episodes, is that I'm planning on painting this room. So if you guys are regular viewers and you've seen us before, you might be noticing it's pretty white in here. That's because basically the toys you see behind us are like the last toys I have in this room. All these other walls are pretty much cleared out. So I'm going to be painting soon, hopefully. But what I didn't anticipate is it's a lot more echoey in here. Do you find that?
Yeah, I'm picking that up.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you guys will notice that on the mic or whatever, but it's definitely more echoey in here without any stuff on the walls and stuff. So, anyway. So, yeah, new G.I. Joe Classified. We've got quite a few of them. And we got most of the same stuff.
Yes, we did.
So maybe we'll start with the oldest one first, I think. So in our last G.I. Joe video, and they don't really number these waves. I don't know what we call that particular wave, but who did we get in the last one there?
We had
Torpedo,
Scrap Iron.
But we didn't do Scrap Iron.
We didn't do Scrap Iron yet.
But so from that wave that had Torpedo and whoever else, Rock and Roll and Scrap Iron were delayed.
Yes.
Like our store didn't get them for whatever reason. So we went ahead and we posted the video without our Rock and Roll and our Scrap Iron. We now have them, and we were going to review them, but then more pre-orders were coming in, so we're like, well, why don't I wait till we get that? And then why don't we wait until that shows up? And we literally, wasn't it just today, we agreed, like, let's do our G.I. Joe video today because we're all caught up. And then we got an email today that said Hasbro was about to mail us our Cobra Valkyries 2-pack. So we're already kind of like behind the 8 ball again.
Oh well.
Alright, so Rock and Roll. So here he is. I will splice in some close-ups so you guys can get a better look at him. But what is your history with Rock and Roll? What do you think of this guy?
Well, my history with Rock and Roll really started in 1987 when I was listening to music.
Okay.
Are you talking about the character?
Yes, the character.
I'm trying to be funny, but must be the sun. Basically, when you...
Although, since you started the topic, what was your first rock and roll band that you got into?
Oh, God.
For me, when I was a little kid in elementary school, the first band that I like kind of felt was my own, and that I bought cassette tapes, was like AC/DC and Iron Maiden for me. Mm-hmm. It was pre-Nirvana years, but Nirvana, your first rock band?
Yeah.
5 years difference between us. That'll do that.
Yeah. As far as the character goes, I think he's super badass. Like, the one thing I will say is that, like, his helmet doesn't... I wish it was a little tighter on him.
Yeah.
And ever since you pointed out in one of those episodes about the holster strap, I'm always terrified that one of them is going to have that. This one doesn't seem to have it. I just like this character because he's like covered in tattoos. He's got a cool hang ten on his helmet. Yeah. I don't really know much about him. His gun is massive. Yeah. I like that it has the little sniper.
Yeah, little tripod.
Little tripod parts on it.
Also the ammo, like the ammo belt.
The ammo belt and then the little ammo clip with the box coming out. I just really like him. He's got a skull on his hand, which Michael spliced some photos in, but so do I. So
there you go.
I think it's kind of cool. I kind of relate to Craig.
Yeah, what's his name? Craig Rock and Roll McConnell or something.
I'm on a first name basis with these guys.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. Like I think it's usually a trademark or a copyright issue, but they never used to put the character's first name on the box. Like it would be on the back of the packaging on a file card, kind of tucked away. But now they have to call him like Craig Rock and Roll McConnell right on the front of the box or whatever. So yeah, I like this guy too. This was one of the original Joes from 1982, which me and my older brother, we started collecting G.I. Joe right from the beginning. And there was 13 original G.I. Joes. Of those 13, I had 3, Short Fuse, Snake Eyes, and Stalker. My brother had the other 10.
That seems kind of unfair.
Well, it does. But where he's 2 years older, I would have been like, in 82, I was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
And he was like 6. Okay. So when you picture like our birthday parties, he probably had friends from school coming over.
Yeah.
I didn't. So, yeah, I kind of got whatever my parents got me for birthday and Christmas, but Doug would have all his little friends coming over, and G.I. Joe was like the hot property, so he got a lot of them for birthdays and things like that. So, yeah, it's not that my parents loved him more or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rock and Roll, because he was one of my brother's characters, I don't have like as close a bond to him as I do some of those other early characters that I owned, but I always liked him because he felt like he was supposed to have more personality. Like they describe him on the file card as like a surfer, and his name is Rock and Roll, so he's kind of the wild man. And yet the original figure didn't come across. He looked very plain. All the original G.I. Joes looked very plain. It was just solid green. He shared the same bearded head with Clutch and Breaker, and they shared the same body parts with other guys, so he wasn't very unique. They did release a second version of him I want to say 88 or 80, probably 88. And it was a much more unique take on him. He had like kind of a tan shirt. And I have both those figures over here, which they're too small for me to hold up here, but I'll do splice-ins and you guys will see what they look like. I like that this one is kind of a mishmash of version 1 and 2. Like he's got that kind of, not quite tan shirt, but it breaks up the solid green. Mm-hmm. He still has the cross ammo belts, which I
love. Like that's a cool accessory.
Yeah. And yeah, the tattoos. Like it was kind of maybe implied that he's a rock and roll surfer guy, that he would have had tattoos, but the original figure, he had short sleeves. Actually, both versions had short sleeves, and he didn't have any tattoos. But yeah, this one here, he's got full sleeves, even right down onto his hand. He's written on his helmet, Hang 10. So he definitely seems like he's a little against the grain. He's not just a straight up military dude. And the sculpt's great. I think he's got the most personality we've ever seen in his face before. Although they probably could have actually went a little further with that. He still looks
he's a little plain in the face.
Yeah, like maybe if he had a bit of a sneer or something might have helped. But I just mean like where his other head was a repaint of other guys and stuff. Like at least this head is completely unique to him and probably will remain that way. But yeah, very cool figure. I'm pretty pleased with Rock and Roll.
Love him.
Cool. All right, so next up, I'm going to jump in with a figure that we might have already talked about because you got him before I did, which is a rarity. So, because I was collecting G.I. Joe Classified before you ever were, I got the very first figure they ever released, because the figures are all numbered on the side of the box. So, figure 0 was Snake Eyes. Mm-hmm. And I got that Snake Eyes. And then they released that same figure with repainted in black, like because the first one had some brown and gray on them. Then they released it in all black. That was from the first wave. Then they released the movie Snake Eyes, and they released Commando Snake Eyes, Retro Snake Eyes. So I had like 5 Snake Eyes already. And then they released this version that comes with his Wolf Timber. Mm-hmm. And even that was the second version of Timber. So I was like, that's a $60, $70 set in Canadian dollars. I was like, I don't think I need it. Like, I want to be as close to a completist with this line as makes sense. But if you're just doing like very minor paint tweaks, I can't justify it at $60-something. But for you, you didn't have a Snake Eyes yet, right?
No.
So that was your first.
That was my first.
So you got him. And even though it was very similar to the other ones I had, I was still a little envious that you had him and I didn't. And I always kind of kept in the back of my head, like, if that figure goes on sale, maybe I'll get him. Anyway, so I went to Moncton, New Brunswick to go see Guns N' Roses. I think I talked about that a little bit in one of the prior episodes. Either I was on my way to it or anyway. So when I was in Moncton, I went to a really cool toy shop they have up there, and I got Snake Eyes. So here he is. So this is the same figure for the most part that I already have. The main difference is he's got this scarf, which I like, but it doesn't really sit on him properly.
Doesn't.
Yeah, you really have to wrestle with it to get it to look decent. Like, I actually think it looks okay, like how I've got it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as you turn it to just slightly, because he's already got these like grenades on a bandolier, and it just kind of floats on his shoulders and looks weird. But the other improvement that I really like on this guy is they gave him lace-up combat boots.
Yeah, that's so cool.
My previous versions have like slip-on superhero kind of boots, and I like the added realism of the laces. So yeah, I think this is a pretty solid Snake Eyes. The Timber is the same. So Timber is his wolf. This is Timber here. It's the same figure that came with the other version, except this one's solid white as opposed to gray.
Right.
And this is more true to the vintage toys of the 80s, whereas the other Timber was more true to the cartoons. So it's a cool set. I did get it used, and so I got it for about $20 less than I would at retail. And at that price, I felt comfortable buying it. And yeah, so he's pretty cool. So he's not really new, but he's new to me and pretty sweet. All right, so you want to talk about Scrap Iron?
Sure.
All right, so this was one. It was a bit of a process to get him because we both pre-ordered or thought we pre-ordered him from our GameStop. He was supposed to be in that same wave as Torpedo and those other guys, and he didn't show up. And then he was showing up on their website as available, and I tried to buy him on the website, but then I was told, oh, even though you bought it, we can't sell it to you because it's on hold for somebody at the store. It was this whole process, and it took a couple of weeks, but eventually my GameStop guy called a store in Ontario and had them ship it over specifically for me, so I was able to get them. You had kind of a similar ordeal.
Yeah, I can't even remember where I ended up getting mine from. It wasn't GameStop.
Amazon or something?
It was probably Amazon. I think it was the American Amazon. Because
Okay.
I paid a little more for them.
All right, so yeah, we did get Scrap Iron, which off the top of my head, like he's the Cobra munition specialist, maybe. I forget what. Do you know what they call him? Exactly?
I don't know.
All right, so again, kind of like we did with Rock and Roll. What's your history with Scrap Iron? What do you think of this guy?
Brand new. Like
Okay. You don't know him?
I don't remember him that much. The biggest thing for me is I really like the face sculpt on this guy. Like, he's got a battle damaged face. Like, I'm assuming that's a burn.
Yeah.
Over his face. The big thing for me though is they could have easily made this a lot less by not including so many blast effects. Like, there was an obnoxious amount of blast effects.
So yeah, just to give you an idea, you guys know the size of a regular G.I. Joe box. It's like this big. But this guy came in a box this big. So it's more than like double the size.
Yeah.
And it's because he's sold as like a deluxe or a super deluxe. And he comes with all those things you see on the back of the box, which is primarily a figure with a little pistol and a helmet. Then he comes with his little missile launcher with a whole bunch of explosive blast effects, which is great if you're somebody that likes to make dioramas or take, elaborate photos for Instagram, like my friend Matt, who has been on the show once or twice. He takes these amazing pictures on Instagram. If you don't already follow Mate Mylar, make sure you check him out. Amazing photography. But you and me, we don't do that.
No, and like that was what, 6 extra pieces? I mean, I think...
And they're big pieces.
They're big pieces. The only ones that I could probably justify are the ones that hook into the missiles. Just for like the blast effect, showing it coming out of the
like that's kind of cool. It's like a smoke trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
But the other ones, like, why do you need 2 bases? And then there's like parts that fit into the base and smaller ones.
Yeah.
It's just
it was unnecessary. But at the same time, it wasn't crazy expensive. No. Like, sure, he was about double the price of a standard figure.
I think it was $64.99.
Yeah, so if a standard figure is like $34, he was like $64. Like, I wouldn't want all these figures to be $64, but Scrap Iron is such a cool character that I really wanted badly that I didn't even really bat an eye. I was like, I'll buy him. I don't care that he's got extra junk that I don't need. But yeah, cool figure, cool box.
I do think his helmet's really oversized though for like his head.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's super cool about this figure is that he does, for the first time ever, have a removable helmet.
Yeah.
And you can see he's got like a mohawk. Sort of
scars all over his face.
He's got scars. Half his face is burnt off, almost like Two-Face. Which is really cool because he's a guy that deals with explosives. Yeah. So it makes sense that he might have,
had a mishap.
Cut the wrong wire at some point or another. But the helmet does sit a little large. And it tends to droop down over his nose and stuff. You kind of have to mess around with it. Like, yeah, I don't like it when you push it down that way. You kind of have to get it to sit just right. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's not too bad. Anyway, so yeah, this guy's super cool. This guy is another... We talked about him a little bit, right?
Yeah.
When this guy was coming out and you didn't know much about him, I gave you a little bit of a history lesson. So this guy came out early in the G.I. Joe line. I want to say 84 probably for him. And in the comic books, he was introduced as the guy that, he kicked off an important storyline because he blew up Cobra Commander's son, and he killed Snake Eyes' sensei, and he killed Ripcord's girlfriend. So with one missile launch, he really kicked off a bunch of storylines. And even though he didn't have a whole lot to do that I can remember in the comic books after that, because every year there was a whole bunch of new toys came out, and Larry Hama, who wrote the comic, was kind of forced to put the new toys in and give them something to do. So characters like Scrap Iron and Rock and Roll, they would come in, they'd do something, but then we'd kind of forget about them and move on to other characters. But yeah, this guy, he made a splash in his initial appearances. I guess I should show the missile launcher. So even from the earliest figure back in 84, he came with a personal missile launcher like this. Mm-hmm. And so it's got tank treads, and it's got 2 red missiles that come out like this. This is the most elaborate it has ever looked. Normally it was just a really small thing that wasn't articulated. This thing here, it's got, it moves in multiple ways. You can pose it up and down. And all those extra blast effects that we talked about. I've got them all in a little Ziploc baggie here.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so it's a whole bag of explosions of various shapes and sizes. And you could set these on the shelf beside the guy. It looks like he's in a barrage of missiles landing around him or something. These are the kind of the trails we were talking about. You plug those into the back of the missile launcher. Again, you'll see all this when I do a cut in. And it looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was all I really needed, is the trails there. Yeah. Alright. Now, I actually almost forgot about this until I was just fidgeting with my boxes over here. So, Snake Eyes was a character that you already had, mm-hmm. that I talked about. I bought you a figure the other day. I have to give that to you. I forgot about it.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is a figure that I already have, and I've already reviewed on the channel. But you didn't have him. This is a Python Patrol officer.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a new Toys R Us that opened at our, in Halifax.
Yeah.
So we have 2 within 15 minutes of each other, which is kind of interesting. I had originally seen this at the one that we frequent the most, mm-hmm. and it was $45. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can get this right now. So this is when I ended up getting Duke instead, because this is the guy that I hid.
Yeah.
And someone found him.
Or you hit him too well.
I hit him too well, but they had that sale on those Fugglers or whatever they're called, the Ugly Monster plushies.
Yeah.
And that space was ravaged because they had a sale on them, so he must have been found and bought. So I picked up the Duke with the motorbike, Tiger Force, and Mike was like, yeah, a new store opened up, and I didn't realize we were even getting one. They had this. He said he was gonna go in that day. He got a gift card or a promotional thing for 25% off.
Yeah, we're both part of their, what do they call it, the R Club or something. And they send me coupons every once in a while. They're usually good for a week, and they're like, if you come in this week, you can get $25 or 25% off any one item. And so yeah, it was good timing. I got an email from Toys R Us, and it said you can have, was it 25 or 30% off?
25, I think.
25% off any item in the store. And I was like, well, like Chad said, we live in a suburb called Sackville, which is, if you've heard of anywhere, if you're not from Nova Scotia, you might have heard of Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's our big city. Across the harbor, you can take a bridge over. It's not that hard to get to, but there's Dartmouth is like our sister city of Halifax. So we have a Toys R Us in Dartmouth. Yeah. I don't really like going over to Dartmouth. People in Halifax call it the dark side, kind of tease it because Dartmouth is a little dumpier than Halifax. So yeah, I probably was just going to let my coupon go and like not use it. But then somebody told me that in brand new Toys R Us, don't mind the motorcycle zipping past, a brand new Toys R Us,
maybe it's Stu,
maybe, opened up in Halifax. Yeah. And to you people that watch in like the States, you might be a little jealous because I don't think you guys still have your Toys R Us's. They all went out of business a couple of years ago. I've heard they might be starting to open them inside another store or whatever, like inside Sears or I don't know. But like, yeah, we still have big box Toys R Us's here. But the fact that we got a second one, which is better and more convenient for me to go to Halifax, I prefer going to Halifax. It's actually very close to my work office.
Yeah.
Now I don't go into the office anymore. Ever since COVID, I've been working from home. But it's still up in the air whether I might have to return to the office at some point. But now I can just stop into Toys R Us like every day after work, and it's
right across from GameStop, which you frequent.
Yep, super convenient.
Quite a bit. So,
but you know what's kind of a downer is so I literally went to this Toys R Us on opening day. It was like midday on opening day, and I walk in, and I made it a couple of feet in when I was like, you know what, I should be filming this because I know there's a lot of people that ever since they closed Toys R Us, they're very nostalgic. They miss it. It's like how I feel for Blockbuster. A lot of people get really nostalgic and miss the days of walking around Blockbuster and browsing. I worked at Blockbuster for 12 years, and now I kind of wish like I had taken more of the signage home or some of the shelving just because I'm nostalgic and I didn't think to take it at the time. So anyway, I walked into Toys R Us and I was like, oh my God, this is pristine. Like this place has only been open for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So every shelf was perfectly stacked.
Yeah.
Like every Barbie was like, you know, there was like 12 Barbies in every row. 12 G.I. Joes.
Perfect.
Ninja Turtles, nothing was, like it looked like right out of a movie or something. Like it was perfection. And I was like, I gotta film this. But I didn't want to look like a dickhead walking around with my camera. So I put my camera in my breast pocket. And I did a little like 15-second walk around and I took it out and I checked the video. And I was like, okay, cool, that works. I put it back in my pocket and hit record, and I walked around the entire store, even through the baby section, and they have like a furniture section, which our other store doesn't have. It's weird, but I was just like, wow, this place is so clean and new and cool, and I filmed all the Ninja Turtle stuff and all the G.I. Joe stuff, the Indiana Jones stuff, Marvel stuff. Anyway, I had a video that was about 25 minutes long, which I was obviously going to edit, but I wanted to share it with you guys. Anyway, when I got in the car and looked at it, the whole thing is just like the rafters. My phone like kind of pointed upwards like that. So you see me walking through the store and all you see is just like lighting fixtures and rafters. You catch the top of a couple of shelves here and there. So yeah, if you guys wanted to see that, I apologize that I fucked it up. But
when I went into that store to pick up something else a couple days later, there were so many staff in that store. And it was weird because it was almost like they were following you around, and if you picked something up, they'd be like tidying it up like right away, and it was like I just couldn't help think like, man, it's not gonna stay that way forever. Like I understand, but
and that's why I wanted to document it. I might have a couple of seconds of footage that's worthwhile that I can splice in here, but to your benefit, there was, even though it was really nice and clean and new, there was nothing else I really needed, so I was able to use my discount to buy you your Cobra Trooper. So
and then I bought your M&Ms.
Yeah. So that worked out great. I did sneak some M&Ms in there, and he paid for the whole receipt. So I was
also like, thank you. Yeah, that's
a
favor for a favor.
Yeah. So let's move on. Okay. Shut things down for a second because the dogs were barking too much. But anyway, so yeah, we'll move on from Toys R Us, but it was very cool that it's open. Yeah. Great news. So I got another G.I. Joe here. This is one that you do not have, as far as I know. This is Tiger Force Dusty. So just like you had mentioned, you got Tiger Force Duke recently, that Python Patrol Cobra Officer. All of these Tiger Force and Python Patrol characters are repaints of figures that already came out. They're exclusive to Target in the States. We don't have Targets in Canada, so they show up at our Toys R Us's. But it's a little bit of a hit and miss, especially in the early days. They were like impossible to get. Nowadays, it's not so tough. They tend to have them there. So, yeah, I got Tiger Force Dusty. Here he is. So, he's cool. Like, he looks like the Tiger Force Dusty from the vintage toy line. Although I will say, even though I always liked the character of Dusty, I thought the original, like, 1985 figure was really cool. I think he is one of the weakest classified figures.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it might partly be, like, for one, he is just kind of plain. Mm-hmm. Like, you could say the same thing about Rock and Roll and Breaker and some of those guys that just wear green. But with Dusty, the thing that made him so cool and unique in the original toy line was that his helmet wasn't removable, but he had, like, real, like, soft goods cloth that hung around the back of his helmet. Yeah. Like, whatever you call those helmets. But for the desert, you know, so you have that extra cloth hanging down. And I feel it probably would have looked so much better at the 6-inch scale blown up. And yet the helmet doesn't have that. It's just plastic sculpt. So I was disappointed with the original Dusty for that reason. And now this figure, it's the same figure, just in Tiger Force colors. You know, so it's good, but it is a bit of a downer. It would have been great if they had updated that and given him a cloth helmet. One thing I do like about this, which is kind of interesting, is the original 85 Dusty. He had brown, splotchy, like camo paint on his face. And then when they did the version 2 Tiger Force repaint in the vintage line, he had a clean face, which was a little strange because you kind of thought, okay, well, this would be an opportunity for the camo might work for Tiger Force. But yeah, this time, Tiger Force in the classified line, they actually have given him the camo on the face. So, because the camo on the face was kind of one of Dusty's trademarks to me. And yeah, I don't know if you've seen what I did there.
Yeah, I like that.
So he comes with 2 sets of goggles. And somebody on Instagram gave me a little tidbit when the original Dusty came out last year, is that if the helmet sits a little big on his head and it slides around, if you put his other set of goggles onto his head backwards underneath the helmet stays. The helmet locks into place a little bit better. You can kind of find a spot where you're happy with it and it'll hold. So, yeah, that's what I've done there. But yeah, pretty cool.
I like him, but a second Dusty isn't really necessary for me. I'm not as much of a completist as you are with this line. Who knows? Maybe down the road, but it's not really a priority.
Yeah, well, just like you started with, you got Tiger Force Duke.
Yeah, I know.
And is he the only Tiger Force you have so far?
Yes. No, that's. I have Roadblock, but he's not Tiger Force.
No, he's not Tiger Force.
No, okay. So yes, he is the only Tiger Force.
So for me, I've got Duke, Outback, Bazooka, and Recondo. So plus Flint is coming, which I'm going to get Flint. So my Tiger Force team is growing, and now I can't miss a part of it. Yeah. So even though I think Dusty is kind of a weak figure as far as the line goes,
you need him.
He's not a bad figure, and I do need him just so I can have my whole Tiger Force team. So, but yeah, he turned out pretty well. So there you go. Okay, now the next one we'll talk about, we both did get this one.
Yes.
So, and actually we both, I think, did we both get 2 of him?
Yes, we did. If it's the...
Yes, it is the Arctic Bat. So, yeah, here is the box for this guy. So, they're still doing the windowless boxes. So, you get some cool, like, artwork and a picture of the toy on the front there. So, yeah, we both bought 2 of them. And what are your thoughts on Arctic Bat?
Absolutely love it. I appreciate the alternate heads, the alternate face plates, the variety of weapons that they come with. It's kind of weird for me to start buying like 2 of a figure that I'm not really like super invested in the line, although I would say that that's changed since I've got this. But yeah, like I'm displaying one of mine with the opposite helmet and the one that has the messed up face also has the cracked
Yeah,
armor. The guns, fantastic, like a nice variety of weapons.
Yeah, like the Battle Android Trooper was always a character that you could have bought multiples of. So for you army builders, you could just buy the same one and you could have 20 guys that all look the same. And you might do the same thing with like Cobra Troopers and stuff too. But, you know, it's kind of weird to have 20 humans all look identical. Even if you can only see their eyes, you know, they all have the same skin tone and everything else. But bats, you would expect them to look identical. So why not have 20 of them?
Android Troopers.
But I love that they're giving you the options. Like, yeah, this guy came with 2 heads, like 3 or 4 chest plates. He's got multiple different hands that you can swap out. So you could have a guy with 2 hands. You could have a guy with like a claw and with a machine gun hand and all this stuff. Like, it's lots of customization options, which is really cool.
And just like one added element on the helmet where it says Arctic polarized, like that's a nice little addition because his visor is kind of like bluish green.
On that standard bat head, I love that kind of, what's the word, iridescent or something.
Yeah.
That it's kind of this bluish green oil slick looking. It's very cool. It's a really nice paint that they've done on his face. Anyway, so here's my other bat. So you left your Joes at home, but yeah, we
both have them.
But you can see with this guy here, and you'll see it on this close up, is I've got them with different heads, and they look like completely different figures. By changing out the heads and changing out the chest plate, and this guy's got a chainsaw hand, which is super cool, which none of the previous bats, because this is the 4th bat. The other bats did not have the chainsaw attachment, so that's something new they've added here too. So yeah, they look like completely different figures, so you're completely justified in buying 2 of these guys. It's not like you're buying 2 figures that are going to look identical on your shelf. Like, you almost need it to buy 2 of these.
And like one thing that's neat is I'm enjoying, like, because you don't get a lot of this with some of the other lines I collect. Hasbro seems to be having a lot of fun with the action shots, and the ones for these guys were super cool. Like, Buddy's destroyed in the snow, and you got the other guys kind of like...
Yeah, they've got really good promo shots for all this stuff. Now, I do have a complaint in that. I don't know if you found this, but holding their guns.
Yeah.
They can't really hold their guns. And he comes with a really cool new rifle. Like, I think this is probably the first figure that came with this rifle. And even if it's a reused gun, it's painted white and everything, so it matches him. But it's got some movable parts. It's got a little tripod that comes down. It's got this extra little clip thing here. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, it does not fit. It fits so loose in his hand, it just falls right out. And the other bat figures held onto their guns. So I don't know why I'm having such trouble with this guy.
I think the gun's just too big for him.
And the plastic is really soft. Like, both his hands and the gun are really soft plastic. Like, I could probably bend this right in half right now. But
mine actually came bent at the at the top there.
That's super annoying when your gun like muzzle is bent because it always looks corny. Anyway. Yeah. But anyway, great figure.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I was actually thinking, I don't know if I talked to you about this, of buying another one. Just
a third one? Yeah. This guy is... Like, when I did my best of the year list last year, I had several G.I. Joe classified figures that made the list. Like Zarana, Serpentor, Crocmaster, Spirit, Tomax. And there was a bunch more figures that were on the cusp. This year is going to be another G.I. Joe heavy year because there's a lot of great figures. Mm-hmm. And this guy's definitely going to be a contender for me. Like, I don't think he's my toy of the year, but he's really cool. Especially for a figure that I've already got in 3 different colors already. You'd think they would have run out of gas. But giving him this new, totally unique head sculpt, giving him the chainsaw, giving him the new weapons and everything, like it just really elevates this bat. Yeah. So, super cool. Okay, so we've got 2 more figures to talk about. So, this one we both got. So this is the Cobra Eel. So this is the Cobra Frogman. Super excited about this guy. Yeah. This was another one that Doug had when we were kids, but I still really loved the look of this guy because there was multiple G.I. Joes, divers. You had Torpedo. Mm-hmm. Wetsuit was the one I had. So yeah, you really needed some underwater bad guys to fight them. And the Eels was just such a great look. So anyway, why don't we go with... Do you have any history with this character, or what do you think of this toy?
I don't have any history. I was pretty much too young when the original Joes came out. Like, I would have been... 1983 was the first year? 82, so I was born in 82. So I don't have as much of a connection to them as you do, but with this character, I do like the color scheme and like the painted anchor on the back with the eel wrapped around it, cool the stall. Like, this guy is just so cool. Between him and Torpedo, I think I actually like him a lot better.
Yeah. Well, he shares a lot of parts. I think the body is very much Torpedo.
Think it's the same.
Flippers and everything the same as Torpedo.
Yeah.
But what makes the eel is the helmet, which I don't have on him right now because it's a very tight fit. Yeah. I'm not even going to try and smush this on him right now, but I'll do it for the insert shot.
It was awkward.
But this is great because the vintage eel toy had this helmet, but it didn't come off. So this was a sculpted head. In the modern 4-inch line, it did have a removable helmet, I believe. But I'm surprised it works so well. Like, it fits on him so snug. It's got like a clear visor so you can see his eyes through the visor. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very well done.
How are you going to display him? Are you going to display him similar to Torpedo with like his mask hanging off to the side, or are you going to keep it off altogether?
I'm not sure. Like, if this guy becomes more readily available, and I don't know if...
Buy another one?
Because this figure was an Amazon exclusive, I think?
Yes, American Amazon.
Yeah, and he did sell out. So I know a lot of people online were complaining that they missed out on him and all that stuff. So I don't know if they'll re-release him. Maybe he'll show up in Hasbro Pulse later. But what I'm at least banking on is that they will release him in a different paint deco later and say, Eel Commander or something like that. Because, Hasbro obviously loves the repaints. They want to get as much bang for their buck as possible without having to retool another figure. And people would obviously buy this.
Yeah.
So I might display him with the helmet off, just holding it in his hand so you can see his, like...
Oh, that's kind of cool.
His mask like that. And then if they release another version, or if I eventually get a second version when they become more readily available, I'll display one with the helmet. But as we've talked about before, any trooper type, I like to have 2 in my collection. But anytime a new trooper comes out, I always pre-order 2. And then I always give my brother Doug the option, because he's a toy collector, but he's a lazy toy collector. He doesn't put the effort in. But I'm the one that's like up all night, counting down the clock, getting all the exclusives. Jeez. So I ordered 2 eels, and I said to Doug, I'm like, do you want one of these eels? And he said, yeah, of course. So I gave Doug one of my eels, or sold it to whatever. But like with the Arctic Bat, same thing. I bought 2, and I was kind of hoping, like, oh man, he's got the extra head, I hope Doug doesn't want this. And Doug didn't want that, because he's probably even less of a completist than like you are. And he's like, I already have the regular bat. I don't need to waste money on a white one, because there wasn't a white one in the vintage line, so he doesn't have any nostalgic attachment to it or anything. So it worked out for me to keep my 2 bats. I kind of would have liked to have kept my 2 eels. But at the same time, it's nice to do Doug a solid and get him a figure that I know he would have liked. So
sure. So
there you go. Anything more on eel?
No.
All right. So the last one I have here. This kind of sucks for you.
This absolutely sucks for me.
But, so this, it's annoying. There's so many G.I. Joe exclusives. Like, we have to jump through so many hoops to try and get all these toys. Like, Amazon American specifically, the Hasbro Pulse figures, the Walmart exclusive figures, the Target exclusive figures, the Toys R Us exclusive figures. Like, so you're buying them all over the place. And one of the Hasbro Pulse exclusives, like, so Serpentor was one from last year that you had a hard time tracking down. And
which, I'll stop you there. I actually did get one.
Oh yeah, you have one now.
He was a premium. Someone had him posted on Amazon, and by the time all was said and done, it was $205.
Yeah, but it's not...
I wanted him, and I had him as a kid. And...
Yeah, and you get the whole chariot and everything.
Exactly.
So I think like he was like 160 or something when he was...
129.
129 plus tax. So yeah, you paid more for him, but, whatever. You wanted him.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, it was annoying because I got lucky with Serpentor. But these Hasbro Pulse figures come out, and they're characters that people are going to want.
Yeah.
I don't know why they put them out in such limited numbers, and you have to buy them right there. And if you're not there that first 10 minutes, they're gone.
Miss it.
So there was another exclusive last year, Dr. Mindbender, who is a core character of the G.I. Joe mythology. He was heavily featured in the cartoons. He's the guy that created Serpentor. Like, I think they would absolutely sell a ton of him if they put him at retail. He's kind of interesting looking. But they made him a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. Now, he was a deluxe figure, even more so than Scrap Iron. So I think he was more expensive than that. He came with more useless shit in the box. But I missed him. He sold out like right away. I didn't get him. And then sometime, a couple of months after the debacle of him selling out and a lot of angry fans,
he went back up.
They said, we're going to put another batch out. But again, it was very limited. So again, it was sold out really quick. But I did get my pre-order in on Hasbro Pulse. And I haven't canceled it yet. They still haven't fulfilled it. Because I figure I'll either get that for my brother for Christmas, which I think I can say because he doesn't watch these. So I think I'm not spoiling anything. Or if you still need it, you can take it on hands. But anyway, GameStop called me.
No, GameStop called me.
They called you because you were like, your name was first. Well, actually, no, we're getting ahead of ourselves again. So it was, it sold out on Hasbro. You can't get it anywhere else. But then it showed up on GameStop's website. Like they had some of them, and apparently they did do pre-orders for a few of them back when they first come out.
That was the Jerry day.
So you called me. And you said I was able to just pre-order Dr. Mindbender on GameStop.com or whatever. So I was like, well, I'm going to do the same. So we both ordered one. Yeah. It charged our card, or at least like pre-authorized our card. Yeah. And then like 10 minutes later, we both got an email that said, sorry, we don't have the stock. We're canceling your Dr. Mindbender. And I was like, oh, that sucks. It's super annoying. But it didn't surprise me because of the pain in the ass that I had to deal with Scrap Iron a month or two earlier. So then I gave up on it. But then you emailed me.
Because Justin had said, he's our guy at GameStop, he had said that, oh no, just ship to home because they'll fulfill those ones. So I ordered one, didn't get the email back. I was like, perfect. So my stock is guaranteed.
Yeah, and you called me back and you said, Mike, you should order it online now. And instead of saying ship to the store, which I thought was more convenient for them, but if you order ship directly to your house, which costs a little bit more because you have to pay for the shipping, but then they would fulfill that order. So you said, I did it, and like, Mike, you should try it again. So I was like, all right, I'll do the process again. I did it again. I didn't get the rejection email. So again, like you, I thought, okay, we're going to get these. But then, Justin from GameStop called you, because your name was first on his list, probably because of these pre-orders that we made online. And he said, Chad, I have a Dr. Mindbender in my hands. Do you want to come and buy it? And you told him no because I already got one guaranteed online or something.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, okay. And I said, you know what? Also, Mike is more attached to these guys than I am, so I could potentially miss this and not care, although I was kind of sour when you got him. I'm thinking, okay, well, that's fine. But
well, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I knew you'd appreciate it more than I would, so.
Yeah, because you passed on him. So he called me next, I think probably immediately after you. And he said, Mike, Chad passed on this Dr. Mindbender. Do you want him? And I said, yes, I'm coming down to get him, like, tonight.
Right.
So I went to get him, paid for him, I got him. I didn't cancel my one from GameStop. So I might still get one from GameStop and from Hasbro. I don't know. In which case, if I do, then you and Doug are both taken care of. But I got the Dr. Mindbender, and here it is. So
in all his glory, soft good cape. I like it.
Yeah, soft good cape. A little monocle, which is like a little translucent plastic there. So he did come in a big box, which I'll do an insert of the box. It was, like I said, bigger than necessary. Like, he didn't need to be deluxe. The vintage figure just came with basically a cape and a gun, and I think maybe a little toolbox of some sort. But this guy came with
a couple potions or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, like, I would say literally a bunch of kind of useless junk. Because at least Scrap Iron, like the big missile launcher, is his signature thing. And I'm glad they didn't give us a rinky-dinky one. Like, it's big, it's bulky, it looks impressive on the shelf next to him. But Dr. Mindbender, he came with this bag of stuff. This is everything he came with. And basically, it's two kind of beakers. One of them has got like a severed hand, like, I don't know, a monkey's paw or something in it. And then he's got a brain, like a skull, and you can lift the top of the skull off, and there's a brain in it. So yeah, he's just got some like laboratory gear, and it's not like it's kind of neat. But when you see the amount of it, like you could have put this in there and still charged me $35. Like I don't see how this is deluxe. Like if he came with a full on, like in the comic books, it's a way overused trope. But Dr. Mindbender uses the brainwave scanner to like take a good guy and turn them bad and all that sort of stuff. And they use it way too much. But if they had come with like a little metal chair, because that's all it is. It's a metal chair with like a dome that comes over your head or something. If he'd come with a brainwave scanner, that would have been awesome because we've never got one of those before. And that would have justified the price point. But to give me a couple little beakers and stuff, I'm like, that's not deluxe.
That's not deluxe.
That's just standard
the same amount of accessories that the baselines come with.
Yeah. Anyway, like he looks great. Like to those that aren't familiar with him, like he looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because he's a mad scientist essentially.
Bare chested.
He's a former dentist. I don't know if you know that about him. That was what he did before he joined Cobra. He was a dentist.
They have such weird occupations, like used car dealer.
Yeah, Cobra Commander was a used car dealer. He was a dentist.
Can I ask why he went from dentist to mad scientist? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, dentists go turn into mad scientists all the time. I forget his reasoning, but like if memory serves, and I'm going by the comic book, because there's comic book continuity and there's cartoon continuity. Yeah. I don't know if they ever mentioned he was a dentist in the cartoon. I think he just showed up in the cartoon one day. That's how most people showed up. They didn't really give them origin stories or anything. But I think he was the one, he created the Battle Android Troopers, and I think his first appearance in the comic book either was the same issue as the Battle Android Trooper or right around the same time. And I think he attacked G.I. Joe with the Battle Android Trooper to kind of show off to Cobra, like, look what I'm capable of. And then they brought him on payroll, essentially, or something. But, yeah, I don't know. I think just the fact that he was a dentist was just some weird thing that Larry Hama came up with for his file card.
Was he a bare-chested dentist?
I hope not.
Like, for me, I think the skin tone is a little too pale, though, just because it's sculpted with abdominal muscles. Yeah. I think they could have mixed the paint a little bit.
Well, Mindbender's a pale dude.
He is a pale dude.
But mind you, if he does walk around shirtless all the time, which he seemingly does, you'd think he would have got a little bit of sun. But yeah, he's a guy he's got a twirly mustache, a monocle, a cape, kind of a weird metal cod piece.
Yeah.
He's a strange mad scientist. Like in the later figures of him, he had a white lab coat, which kind of, it's a little more generic, but it makes more sense than this. But anyway, this is the look that I like. This is the look how he first appeared in the first toy and the first, the cartoons and all that stuff. And so yeah, it looks pretty great. Pretty pleased.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. I just want to feel the cape. Yeah.
Yeah, the cape's nothing special. Like it could have benefited from a Cobra logo on the back.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I seem to think that, I don't know if the original version had a Cobra on the back, but I think maybe the modern 4-inch version had a Cobra logo on the back, and I think like, why not? It probably should. It's nothing special, but anyway, the figure itself, it's pretty cool. So I think that's it for this episode of G.I. Joe Stuff. And we probably, at this point, I think we shot it at 45 minutes. We always like to try and keep these under an hour so we don't lose your attention. I am going to splice in some little bits here and there, which might get us through the hour mark. So why don't we put a pin in this, and then we will shoot another episode.
All right.
So be sure to check back, and probably a couple of days after this one is posted, we'll have another video up.
I forgot my backup t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. We did talk about, almost every time we get together now, we shoot multiple episodes. Yeah. And it might be okay if we wore just plain t-shirts. But I feel, especially if we wear graphic tees that people probably notice, and then we shoot 2 or 3 episodes and I post them like days and days apart, people are going to think that we just wear the same clothes all day every day, but that's not the case. So yeah, maybe I'll go upstairs and change my shirt, and then they'll just think that you are a dirtbag that wears the same clothes.
Chat the closet dirtbag.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, we'll wrap this one up. So what do you wind up?
Sure. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. leave us comments, and we look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy interacting. Let us know what you thought about the Joe pickups. Are there any more ones that you're excited to get?
All that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time. Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
With the rock and roll.
Oh.